holiday season can be sweet and also messy. You are around family, traditions, maybe religious stuff, maybe old triggers, and suddenly your nervous system is doing cartwheels. New Year energy can amplify it too. That new me pressure can hit your body and your relationships first, including sex. So today's convo, listeners, is basically let's drop the performance goals and talk sexual health like real humans. Listeners, welcome back to Cosmic Confluence Podcast. I am Sun, and quick check-in. If you are listening during the holidays or right at the edge of New Year, you might be feeling two things at once: comfort and chaos. You are not broken if you are both grateful and overwhelmed. It's completely normal. And listeners, today we are going somewhere people love to avoid at the dinner table: sexual health and wellness. Not the hot tips version, the real version, the version shaped by your nervous system, your upbringing, your beliefs, your shame, your desire, your boundaries, and yes, your healing. Let me tell a bit about my guest. She grew up in an oppressive religious community where sex was basically discussed in two modes: silence or shame. Like a lot of people, she entered adulthood unprepared for what a healthy, connected sex life even looks like. And now she is a trauma informed sex therapist, helping people become the sexperts of their own lives. Choices about sex that are informed, authentic, and free from shame. So if this topic makes you tense up, it's fine. That's fine. That's okay. No one's here to judge you. This is not an episode about being more sexual. It is about being more honest, more safe in your body, and more you. So, listeners, please welcome my incredible guest, Holly Nelson. Holly, welcome to the show, and it's really an honor to have you here.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm really, really thankful that, we are able to discuss this topic. Not topic, but one of the most important and, really, really stereotyped, really kind of shamed aspect of human lives. I mean, if we look at some of the aspects in history, we look at some, through so many people's journeys out there, sex is a very important aspect of their lives. But still, I believe, uh, to this day and age, there are so many places where it's a taboo. And I mean, it's not that, right now we are in the modern age and, there's women empowerment. We are now getting more and more access to information. But I think it absolutely requires a major overhaul here. And I think that begins with awareness and more open conversations about it. So thank you so much, Holly, for bringing this topic up.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I am all about opening up the conversation to speak about, one of the most vulnerable aspects, but important aspects of our humanity.
Hmm. And Holly, let's begin with your story. I mean, if it
Sure.
feels good, can you share your story? I mean, what you saw growing up about sex and what made you decide I am going to do this work?
Yes. So I was raised like the religion that I was brought up in, and maybe you heard of it, is it was LDS or, more commonly known as Mormons, depending on who you talk to. But yes, it's very like patriarchal and, women, it's all about, them submitting to their husbands and having sex to make babies. There was never anything discussed about, my own pleasure um outside of procreation. So that's where, what I grew up in. Um, and I think just it kind of naturally evolved over time. Like getting to college and not knowing how to navigate relationships or intimacy. in a healthy way or in a way that protected my sexual health or anybody else's around me. And kind of led to this point, where I did start discovering my own body. And from that point on, it was, I wanted to make it easier for other women or, sexual marginalized groups to understand their sexual pleasure.
And I can absolutely connect with you on that because even in societies and in when it comes to religion or any aspect around it which basically shapes the very foundation of the Indian society, I think, I mean, I have personally gone through that, kind of sex as a taboo. Not even sex, I mean, the idea of a female, of a girl or a woman going through her own individual transitions physically and mentally and spiritually, emotionally, and then, kind of mingling around, like, it's kind of a huge taboo. And I think that kind of is such a huge irony that, if you want to get out of that cage, and sometimes we say that I want to be a rebel and I want to show that whatever you are telling me, let's say as a parent or a well-wisher, that is
Uh-huh.
absolutely not true. I mean, it becomes like this complete, like an absolute rabbit hole. And it's
Uh-huh.
really difficult because you get exposed to so many things at the same time that you feel like, oh my goodness, this is going too fast and I'm not able to understand what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And how do we make it safe to, explore things that you were told were shameful or taboo or, things that were hidden from you?
Exactly. And conditioning, I think, it doesn't teach connection because I think it teaches compliance, fear, or silence. Like if someone's listening, why is this still hard for me maybe at the age of 35 or 45 or 55? I think it's not because, education, I think it's more about the conditioning.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, society tells us that, sex is dirty, bad, wrong, shameful. And then if you add trauma on top of that, then your body tells you that touch isn't safe.
And I think also like in the popular culture, it's often portrayed as, um about the performance. Like it's more about it's performative rather than uh less about the human part of it. So
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, that's the number one issue that I see in my work is like this pressure to perform or pressure for it to look a certain way or go a certain way or, the orgasm, the focused on the outcome rather than connection.
yep, yeah. So Holly, how can someone tell the difference between personal values around sex and inherited shame? Like, is this actually my belief or is this old programming? Like, if they really want to sit and analyze here, introspect here, how they can understand the difference there?
Yeah, I think you really have to start tuning into your body. Like
Mhm.
shame is going to make you feel unsafe, uncomfortable, squirmy. You're going to want to get away from it. But, anything that aligns with your, most authentic self is going to make you feel in live, excited, um, passionate.
Mhm. And in your work, like, what are the biggest misconceptions that you have seen around sex?
Yeah, I think we've named a lot of them. Like it needs to look a certain way. It needs to feel a certain way. I need to look a certain way while I'm having it. Uh, the shame piece, those all kind of blend together.
Hmm. Um, and, um, is there any way, like, let's say if I genuinely want to, um, understand it myself. Like, is there any small experiment I can do, let's say this week, to, start on this journey of separating shame from preference, like without forcing myself into it?
Yes. This is a great question. I think there's a lot of like, gentle ways that you can, work with your body and your nervous system in a safe way. There's, a couple that come to mind are just starting with non-sexual exploratory touch. So basically, you're gonna hang out by yourself fully nude, where you have complete privacy and you're just going to explore different types of touch and sensation with your own body. And just, you're kind of turning on like that mindfulness piece in your brain. You're just going to, observe, try to be curious, non judgmental, and just notice what comes up when you touch, different areas of your body. Another one that I really like is the mirror technique, with genitals, especially for women, since, I feel like I guess men are more comfortable with their genitals, whereas, women are not. So getting a mirror and, just taking a peek down there. And, again, kind of that mindfulness piece, you're exploring without judgment and just noticing, what stories, feelings, and beliefs come up about this part of your body.
Hmm. I think the key piece here is the mindfulness that, we are actually feeling that connection, whether it's your genitals or maybe the most sensitive parts in your body, especially for women, because I don't think like, women would even think about it. I mean, they would shun it like, oh my goodness, that is, no, that is stuff is weird. I mean, I would never think
Right.
about it. Yeah.
Right. But, it's just another part of our body, and it's a beautiful part of our body, and it, has so much, pleasure to offer us.
Exactly. I mean, it shouldn't be taken care of, just only because of the childbirth thing. Hey, because that's the main kind of, that uh, that women are taken care the most when they are bearing child or children or whatever it is. Not before the no, not after that.
Right. Yes, yes, for and then it creates so many problems, in relationships because, you have one person and I'm kind of talking about heterosexual relationships. You have one partner, the man, who is very comfortable, has explored their own body, and then, another partner that hasn't, and it can create a lot of issues.
Hmm. And Holly, a bit of a personal question. Like when you actually went ahead, to study this and kind of um I think you sought for healing through understanding you know sexual health and what kind of implications it has in terms of how we are ignoring this, especially for women, how it is getting ignored. Like if we look at the conventional healthcare system, the society, communities. I think it's absolutely ignored because once again we come back to fear, shame, and taboo. So, did you kind of have a fear of getting pushed back, or having kind of getting shamed at because of your background?
Yeah. You know, as life has gone on, the people around me have also evolved. So, I've been really fortunate, at least in that area, to from the people that are closest to me to be supportive in the work that I do. So, there's always going to be pushback, from society because sometimes you're saying things that are challenging people's, core conditioning. But as far as family and friends, they've all been really supportive and I think open to learning and excited to learn as well.
That's a really good thing to know. A really good thing to know. Gaurav. And
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
And it really shows, like, how effective, how it becomes more and more effective when you have like-minded people, people who are supporting you for what you're doing. I mean, they may not foundationally agree with your opinion, but still
Right.
they love you, they support you, and they appreciate you for what you are doing.
Yes, yes. If they do have issues with what I'm saying, they're not, it's not becoming an issue between us. I probably say some things that my mom doesn't necessarily like or agree with, but she's
Yeah,
still very, one of my biggest cheerleaders.
that's really good to know. Like, really good to know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, now let's get to talk about the desire part here. Now, a lot of people, they label themselves as low libido, but
Mhm.
actually, I think, what I feel is they're exhausted, like anxious or touched out, or maybe,
Yeah.
it's as if any past trauma, like resentful. So, in your work, Holly, how often is low desire actually a nervous system issue?
Majority of the time. Always. Yes. Yeah. I think have you heard of like spontaneous and responsive sex drives?
Um, not exactly, but I can make some sense in the literal way. I
Okay. Okay, yeah. So spontaneous is, typically probably more men have it. The wind blows, they're ready to go. They see someone attractive on TV, they can easily get in the mood. Whereas, more women have responsive sex drives, meaning they have, stressors, which we're going to call the breaks. Those are things that, turn them off. So kids, bills, hormones, the mental load, the list goes on and on.
yeah.
And then you have accelerators, things that turn them on, but, you have to take off the brakes before you hit the accelerator, or else you're gonna be driving with the emergency brake on and you're gonna go nowhere. So, it always goes back to a nervous system issue.
Mm. Mm. I think that it also becomes a kind of a point of argument between the partners, as we talk about heterosexual here.
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
like, you know, jokingly, like, a partner, the male partner would say that, oh my goodness, what should I exactly do to make you turn on or make you happy? I'm not getting at all. So, what do you say about that, Holly? Like,
Oh,
how?
well, yeah, I typically, I'm encouraging them that they need to give more than they get, and the way to turn your wife, your spouse on is to oftentimes look around and see what needs to be done to alleviate, stressors off of their plate because we know that women are doing, um more of the mental load, taking care of kids, relationship, the house than men typically are. And that work is 24/7, 365. Whereas, if you go to work, you work 9 to 5 and that's that. Um, so yeah, helping them see, what can you do to make things more equal in your relationship dynamic. And
Mm.
then figuring out what turns your partner on and applying those after and only after you've, alleviated some of the stressors.
Mm. I mean, it definitely needs understanding, communication, empathy, from both the partners, obviously.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and reframing it too for, each of the partners. Like for the woman, like, your husband, desires you. He wants you. This is not, it's not a bad thing. He wants to be close to you. He still finds you attractive and sexy. And, for the husband, she's not saying no to love you, it's a partnership. It's all these other things that are getting in the way that, she needs help with first.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, because, the way people blame themselves, like it's why, like they treat desire as a personality trait instead of a signal that, uh, maybe I look like this, that's why, my partner doesn't desire me. So
Mhm, mhm.
I think, it also kind of creates a lot of emotional trauma within.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And so learning how to, yeah, not see it as, our insecurities that often get, brought up, when we are feeling rejected or not getting our needs met, and seeing it as something, that the couple can band together to fight the problems rather than, having the two of them against each other.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, okay, Holly, this is such an important part of the conversation, I think, person for me as well, because we talk about we are addressing consent now, by the way, listeners, and we generally talk about it like, it's just saying it's about saying yes or no. But in long-term relationships, it kind of gets blurry, like, routine or obligation, like, I should. So what does ongoing consent actually look like in a committed relationship?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, well, I'm all for, I don't want people saying yes to facts that they don't want to have. And, helping couples realize that, it's about quality uh, rather than quantity. When we rather have, maybe once a month sex where both people are really into it and, enjoying it rather than, we have it every other night and one partner feels pressured, guilty, obligated, and isn't getting anything out of it. And that's just icky for both people.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that, because I mean, it can be such a huge, um I don't know, for the lack of better word, such a huge tenseful situation to just make your partner understand that right now I'm not in mood, or I do not feel like, maybe let's just, skip it over and, maybe do something cozy, or let's have a cup of coffee or tea and just talk. I mean, it can get interpreted in so many different ways. And then it's kind of chain reaction of heated arguments and a lot of misunderstanding in there. And I think the repercussions are sometimes very, very harmful.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's an important thing, but, it's all about the stories we tell ourselves and how we go about, asking and communicating our needs. And also, I think another big part is how do we expand our sexual menus from just, penetration alone? Again, talking about heterosexual couple, like they kind of get into, these very narrow boxes of what sex is. And if we can expand past that, then, there's so much more that's waiting for our sexual relationships that doesn't just revolve around penetration.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And how do you advise, couples, like, specifically where maybe both, or maybe one partner is more, kind of has gone through a very conservative religious background, and is not openly aware that, what exactly sex mean. Maybe they are still considering it as a taboo, and they're feeling shamed that, they are not able to express that to their partner, and their partner is also kind of feeling helpless.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a beautiful part of having, a couples therapist or, a third party person there that can make it safe for, each person to express vulnerable things and, feel heard and understood and then kind of act as that buffer between whatever their partner's emotional reaction may be. And, as a couples therapist is a bridge for understanding and helping, two people find their way back to each other.
I think this is a very important aspect here. Um, and are there any, like, because we have also focused on communication here, like any direct phrases couples can use that don't feel awkward, but it can still protect consent, especially when one person is unsure or shutting down?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think helping partners tune into, like, your partner's body language, if your
Mhm.
partner is starting to shut down, that's often a sign to not continue pushing. Those nonverbal cues are very important in relationship, whether, when we're being sexual or when we're not being sexual. Um, but to name it, like, I'm feeling really shut down. Can we take a break? Can we take a can we pause for a second and come back to this?
Hmm. Hmm. And I think this definitely needs empathy and more of a respect. But yes, I respect your feelings, and there's nothing to shame about or feeling guilty about. Let's talk about it later. Let's just do
Mhm.
something that we both can feel comfortable in. And being honest in real time.
Yes. Yes, I think that's well said.
And Hari, to make it more nuanced, okay, so sex positivity. I think um, it can sometimes it becomes its own pressure. Like now you're not shamed for wanting sex. You are shamed for not wanting it, or for not
Mhm.
open enough. So, do you see that? And if yes, then how do you help clients navigate it?
Yeah. I mean, I think sex positive is, to me at least, is, embracing yourself where you're at on your sexual journey and not feeling, there's so much societal pressure around sex anyways. Again, that when you should be having it, how you should be having it, all of those scripts that are so, like, deeply ingrained in all of us. And, it's about letting those things go and saying, I get to explore my body, my sexuality on my own terms. And if I never, ever want to do that, that's perfectly acceptable too.
Hmm. Hmm. I think any ideology it can become like coercive. Like I think um consent includes opting out. If you want to do it, do it. If you do not want to, don't do it. And then pressure is pressure. I mean, whatever it is, it is pressure. And before we wrap up, one last question, Mavi. Um,
Mhm.
how how can someone tell if they're pushing themselves under the label of growth, versus actually genuinely choosing from alignment?
Yeah. Again, I think it goes back to tuning into your own body. Like, does this feel safe? Does this feel comfortable? Um, and moving at what pace feels safe and comfortable for you. You could spend, years just practicing mindful, non-sexual touch, and that's perfectly acceptable. And other people are ready to, explore, other things, anal. It goes on, there's so many things to explore. But just learning to trust yourself and going at a pace that feels right for you, not what society says or how quick or how it should be.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Because healing it is non-linear, and it can be messy. It's at own pace for everyone. I mean, everyone is different in their own ways, so it cannot be same for everyone out there.
Yes. Yeah, and it isn't because sexuality is diverse and people have a different life paths, stories, traumas that, impact how quickly they're going to go on that journey or if that's even a journey they care to go on.
Hmm. Hmm. I think I really loved it's kind of a tagline here, like the highlight of the conversation that sexuality is diverse. It is, because
Yep.
we are maybe made from the same biological material, but everyone is a different soul, different energy here.
Mhm, mhm. Yep, and everybody has different, needs, sexual interests, And, there are even asexual people out there who don't have sexual interests, and that's completely fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we wrap up, Holly, I think another factor that, apart from the nervous system is sometimes a relationship is the problem here, not the libido, like emotional neglect, social like coercion, disrespect, or unresolved
Yeah.
conflict. So how do you talk to clients about the possibility that their body is responding appropriately to an unhealthy dynamic?
Oh, yeah, this is such a good question. I mean, I think a lot of it is just educating them what consensual, healthy sex is. And, through that process, they kind of come to that understanding on their own that, okay, maybe this isn't as healthy as I thought it was, or I'm not as free to say yes or no in this relationship as I thought I was.
I think that's thank you. I mean, thank you for saying that out loud because um I mean, people will spend years trying to fix themselves sexually when the core issue is they don't feel cared for, seen, or safe. And then
Mhm,
on
mhm.
top of that, maybe your partner is expecting you to be, I mean, let me say it out loud, for sexually satisfying them. And when you're not able to
Mhm.
do it, you are just getting called out for. You're worthless. And I hope listeners are not getting triggered because of this, but in reality, you get to hear words like this. You're worthless, you're good for nothing, you cannot do anything properly, you're no use to me, you're for no use to me. So I think this is such an important, and it's a huge red flag here.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like if your partner is saying those things to you, um, my hope is you have the courage to get help and support and see if they can, be accountable and, acknowledge that, their behaviors, words, and actions are not okay. And if they can't do that, then, understanding that there are better connections out there um, waiting for you.
Exactly, exactly. Help is out there, and you are not alone. So there are absolutely, people out there who will hear you, who will feel you, see you. So that is something I think everyone deserve to know for. And Holly, if listeners they would like to connect with you, what would be the easiest way?
Yes, the best way to get in contact with me is through my website, theconnectioncouch.com. Or you can follow me on TikTok. My handle is Sex Therapy with Holly.
Mhm. Great, listeners. What I'll do is I'll have all the links in the show notes. So do connect with Holly, check out her resources, check out what she's sharing, and listeners, this conversation matters, especially during the holidays when people can be triggered or lonely, coupled up, single, grieving, or stuck in old family roles. And if you're taking anything in the new year, let it be this. Sexual wellness isn't a performance metric. It is relationship with your body, your boundaries, your beliefs, and your sense of safety. And if you grew up with shame around sex, you're not behind. You're not broken. There's nothing to fix in there, anything. You are learning a language you were never ever taught. So that's not your fault. But right now, it is in your control. So, Hari, thank you so much once again. I mean, this is so important, such a crucial conversation. Thank you so much.
Yes, same to you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be heard and spend your time with me.
Super, super. And listeners, I'm holding that. Go slow, go honest, choose what's true for you. If this episode hit a nerve, share it with someone you trust or just sit with it for a moment. No pressure to act, Awareness is action. And thank you for being here. And to everyone listening, take what serves you, leave what doesn't. And I'll see you in the next episode of Cosmic Confluence. Thank you.